All right, welcome back to another episode of the Perfect 10 podcast presented by Boot Crew Media. Not
Hey,
Duke,
there we go.
Boot Crew Media. Today, I'm 1/3 of your host, Mr. Daniel Diesel. Alongside me, as always, Mr. Jacob Erdy.
Yeah.
And joining us today, Mr. MMA fighter himself, Mr. Dakota Bush. Dakota, what's up?
Not too much. How about you guys?
Not much. If you can't tell by the UFC theme song playing at the beginning of the episode, today we're doing top 10 fighters. This is going to span from just MMA to boxing.
Yeah.
I just picked the two main combat sports, and just because if we threw in Muay Thai, kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, amateur wrestling, I could probably make a top 200 list out of just that alone.
I wanted to do just fighters in general.
Yeah. And I made sure we did real fighters and not the fictional fighters.
Yeah. We'll do fictional fighters at some point down the road.
Because I knew you were
Rocky.
trying.
He's probably got Rocky on his list, huh?
Nah.
Yeah.
I wanted to put him in the honorables, but I figure I'll save that for the fictional fighters list.
Precisely. So trivia question. Dakota, if you know it, jump on in. This is for everybody. Who is the first American boxing champion? First American boxing champion.
This has got to be like
Jack
around.
Dempsey.
No. Good guess, though. This guy predates Jack Dempsey, I think, about 50 years.
I'm about to say this must be around like World War I or something.
Oh, it's way before. That was like late 1800s.
Really?
Ooh. I have no clue on that one.
I'm gonna say.
They made a meme out of him, like a classic meme.
Is it the?
Yep. That's your boy.
The old boxer guy. Oh,
That's
dude. I mean, I ain't got a clue then. No.
That'll be Mr. John L. Sullivan.
Okay.
Yes.
I
So,
feel like I've heard that name at some point for some reason.
all right. So, honorables, dishonorables. I'm going to hold off my honorables before my number one pick because for the first time ever, I have 60 honorable mentions.
That's absurd, dude. You
Man,
can't name
all right.
all 60, bro.
Bet you I can.
That's
All right. The reason I did that because boxing and MMA, there's multiple weight classes, multiple organizations. It's really hard to really put a pin in who's the greatest.
okay.
So I had to give him some honorable mentions, but I do have one dishonorable and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 super mentions.
I know who your one dishonorable is, and it's gonna be one of my honorables.
All right.
Jake Paul.
No, hell no. We've trashed Jake Paul many times.
I mean, hey, he's taking it seriously now. He's finally taking an MMA fight. He said in PFL. I mean, I'll give him credit's due, but I'll have to see it to believe it.
I'll watch that one. I didn't watch none of those boxing.
Oh, it's horrible.
But so honorables, I got John Jones.
All right.
Is that your dishonorable?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought it would be all the trash you talk.
Oh, I'll talk a lot of shit about John Jones, but we'll get to that later.
So, and I wanted to throw some fun ones in here. I got Chuck Norris for one.
All right. He's an actual legit martial artist.
So
I will not trash that pick.
That's like, and then one that he is a ninja, technically.
Jackie Chan.
West Virginia Ninja. Y'all remember that guy from YouTube?
Oh, yeah.
15, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
The cutie chop guy?
Yes.
Yes. I just threw that one in the honorables because he's not really a fictional fighter either.
No, he's
He's
real.
just a fighter. You know what I'm saying? He's got the spirit.
Straight out the trailer park.
Oh, yeah. And look, if you never heard of West Virginia Ninja, go look it up. The guy's awesome.
Yeah. You got any dishonorable super?
Nah.
Dakota, you got any honorable mentions, super mentions, dishonorable?
An honorable mention I got, he doesn't get no credit and loved watching him back in the day, is Butterbean.
Butterbean.
Nice.
Love Butterbean. I mean, my favorite Butterbean memory is when
Jackass?
No, even better than WWF back in the day had legit boxing on their program. Like this was real. They got all their wrestlers to have a legit boxing tournament. And for some reason, they said the winner will go on and fight Butterbean. Butterbean knocked him out in 30 seconds.
Nice.
And the guy got fired. So that's probably my favorite Butterbean story. All right, so I'll just go ahead and drop my super mentions. I got Bruce Lee, the OG mixed martial artist. I got Carlos Gracie and Helio Gracie, the founder of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And my Mount Rushmore of amateur wrestlers, I got Alexander Carolyn, Cale Sanderson, John Smith, and Dan Gable.
Okay, I've heard of Dan Gable.
Probably in my opinion, the greatest Olympian ever, because if you understand the concept of amateur wrestling, him mowing through the Olympics without getting
a point scored on him.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous thing I can comprehend in sports, period.
Wild, yeah.
All right. And my dishonorable mention, I got Ronda Rousey. I think she's the most overrated fighter of all time. She was just a product of favorable matchmaking.
Good marketing.
Very good marketing. Her only legit win I'll give her credit for is Miesha Tate, because Miesha Tate was actually a great grappler in her own right. But what really sets her on the dishonorable mention was before she fought Holly Holm, Joe Rogan was in the octagon crying in her presence, saying, like, this is the great once in a ever fighter. We'll never see a fight like this. And Ring Magazine, the Bible of boxing, said that she's probably going to dominate boxing next. And then she fought an actual boxer, Holly Holm, and got her head kicked off.
Got worked, yeah.
Yeah, she got worked hard.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right.
Yeah,
so,
the game was so new at the time for women that they weren't able to keep up with someone like her. Like if you insert Ronda Rousey today, she doesn't even compete in the UFC at all, you know?
right. Even when she fought Amanda Nunes beat the holy shit out of her, and it was just awful to watch. It was worse than what Ronda Rousey was doing to these soccer moms back in the day.
Exactly.
That's fair. Yeah.
And like Ronda Rousey, but to her credit, she came in at the perfect time, right when Gina Carano fell off the map. Shayna Baszler, she fell off the map. Roxanne Modafferi, she fell off the map. Like those women were past her prime. And Chris Cyborg, she was there, yeah, but Chris Cyborg couldn't make that weight at the time. So Ronda Rousey was there for favorable matchups. Dana White just said, let's just do it.
Yeah.
She was very marketable, to her credit, though.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's dive into 10-9-8. So it's Thursday.
Yeah.
So you go first.
Oh, yeah. See, dude, I'm going to have to remember that. All right. So all right. Again, so these are our personal top 10s. You know, we address that all the time. So the way I made my list, for the most part, most of them are, you know, top of their era or had a high peak, or like, you know, pretty much all of them are legitimate picks. Some of them are just like that I like watching most. Some were just at the time commanded viewers, you know?
All right.
So my number 10 spot, I didn't really love him that much, but it was like must watch. He got a lot of publicity, and he did, you know, he fought hard. I can't remember if he won the fight or not. I think it was against Mike Brown. He broke both his hands, and he was just throwing elbows for like 3 straight rounds.
Oh,
Uriah
Faber, yeah.
Yeah. You know, he had, what was it, WEC? That he was the king of.
Yeah, that was his promotion. Like, he was the face of a whole promotion. I don't hate that pick. I don't hate it at all, because he is in one of my 60 fighters I mentioned in my honorable mention.
And it's mostly just because the peak that he had at the time. Like, sure, the whole sport was real popular at the time, but like nobody really paid any attention to anything other than UFC at the time. Maybe one FC or whatever it was in China. What was the one? Pride. Okay. Like, you know, that got some publicity. But like, as far as like WC went, it was Uriah Faber.
Yeah, it was Uriah Faber, Dom Cruz, and
Aldo.
And Mike Brown. Yeah, Mike Brown, too. He was one of the faces of that, too.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you that since I've been down here at American Top Team, you know, for the past 4 weeks, getting to pick Mike Brown's brain and, you know, have him in the room coaching, the guy is just like, he's a nerd with fighting. Like
I love
sent my buddy Grant, you know, an hour and a half long video of Dan Hooker, just every single jab he threw, every straight he threw, every uppercut, every kick, just he breaks everything down. He's a super smart MMA coach, you know.
I mean, I'm hella jealous of you, because like I would love to pick Mike Brown's brain myself. I mean, I'm a fight nerd too. Like I could watch that shit all day. Like back in the day when ESPN Classic would just air classic boxing, like I had to like force myself to turn on because I wasn't getting shit done school wise.
Right.
So that was my number 10 spot. My number 9 spot. Honestly, I don't know that I don't think I've ever watched, I haven't watched much boxing in general. It's usually just, you know, big names. One of the homies buys a pay-per-view, kind of like the way, you know, back in the day but now UFC so big. To me, like boxing and MMA have flip-flopped. Like back in the day, everybody always watched all the boxing, and, you know, like if one of the homies bought the pay-per-view for UFC, you'd watch it. Now everybody watches UFC, and you watch a boxing pay-per-view here and there. But I got Ryan Garcia just because he promotes himself so well. I only see most of it on social media, but like clips from some of his fights, he's so fast, and I guess he's been hurt for like a year or so now.
I'm gonna go ahead and say you just cursed him. because he's fighting Gervonta Davis pretty soon, and Gervonta Davis is going to beat the ever living shit out of him.
Okay.
I
He's
just think
got
it's too early.
dynamite in his hands.
He really does, but I think Tank's athleticism, his speed, and his defense, I don't think Ryan Garcia has fought a caliber of fight. I mean, if he wins that fight, I mean, I'll go ahead and crown his ass as probably the best fighter
That's
in
what
the world.
I'm saying. I'm saying Tank has dynamite in his hands. He
does
like
too.
a truck, man, you know.
I mean, they call him Tank for a damn reason. He has that thick armor, that thick defense, and he just blasts people.
So, I mean, I guess
I think it's going to be a great fight, you know, for real, because Garcia's got super good footwork, good head movement, and he's super fast. It's just like you said, the caliber of opponents is where we'll see if it's going to pay off or not.
Yeah, like that pick for me was mostly just because, like I said, I don't really pay that much attention to boxing, but I guess just the way he promotes himself, he's the one I see the most of just because his social media presence.
Oh yeah, man, he's great in the
So
gym. Like he has like one of the greatest gym highlights I've ever seen.
So anytime I hear of him fighting, I want to watch it. So I'm like, most of these are for like entertainment reasons to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's too young right now.
Yeah. That was my number 9 spot. My number 8 spot, I honestly don't like this fighter at all, but we're doing a list of top fighters, and he is kind of, you know, everybody for the most part kind of takes him as the greatest of all time. I got Floyd Mayweather in my 8 spot.
We'll get there.
I personally don't like him at all, but technically he has an argument for the best fighter of all, you know, best boxer of all time, considering his record.
I actually have him ranked. We'll get to him later.
Okay. All right. So that was, so 8 spot Floyd Mayweather.
All right, Dakota, you're 10-9-8.
All right. I'll start off with my 10 is Sweet Pea, Pernell Whitaker.
I'm beyond thankful that you ranked him. I wanted to rank him so bad. I actually have a Sweet Pea autographed boxing glove. That's one of my favorite. He is the prototype of the best defensive fighter of all time. Like his defense was ungodly. That's who Floyd Mayweather emulated his whole style off of.
Exactly. He's the one who revolutionized the game as far as, you know, making people miss and, you know, gassing out and using head movement and footwork. And he really changed the game with that. You know, it's such a fun guy to watch.
I'm so glad you ranked him. All right. So that's your number 10?
Yeah. So number 9, it was kind of tough to pick between it. I threw him on there, but I got Khabib as number 9.
I don't hate it. I mean, we never really saw a chink in his armor.
Right. I couldn't really throw him up higher because, you know, only having 2 title defenses and
it was a very small sample size that we saw him at the top level. But what we saw at the top level, what he did to Justin Gaethje, what he did to Poirier, what he did to Khan, just all those dudes, and like to me, his best highlight was against Michael Johnson. Right. Like when he was just beating the ever living shit out of him on the ground. And while he's doing, he's yelling at Dana, like, "Hey, I want this title fight." And then at the same time, he's telling Michael Johnson, "Hey, you just might as well just give up, dude.
Give up. You know, I must fight for the title."
Yeah. So
how many UFC fights did he have? It was very short. I mean, it wasn't, but maybe like 2-3 years where he was just.
He probably had 10 UFC fights, but I know his record was 29-0. He finished.
Yeah, he was out with an injury for like 2 years, though. I do know that.
And then on top of that, when he does the Ramadan thing, he's out for like 3 months.
Yeah,
right.
And he just got out the game altogether just recently. He retired, became a coach, and right in the middle of Islam's camp, the new Khabib, he just straight up, I'm not coaching anymore. I'm not going to do the fight promoting anymore. I'm just going to retire in my little Russian mountain town and just call it a life. I mean, I respect it.
Yeah, I got to respect it, man.
Go out on your own terms.
Yeah, it's such a grueling game, and he's put in so much time from birth to now that the man deserves, you know, a break and relax and do what he wants to do.
Yeah. Especially like,
how old is he?
He ain't old at
like
all.
Late 20s?
Nah, he's probably 33, 34.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's probably my age.
Oh, yeah, my back hurts, dog. I feel
yeah.
Right.
The thing about Khabib, what I loved most about Khabib, like how he transitioned from fighter to coach. He's a lot like Mike Brown in that sense. He just gets the game. He has that IQ of like what you need to do when you're in there. Like, and according to Daniel Cormier, Khabib is like a film junkie. And there's something to be said about these top level fighters that are just addicted to film. And I respect the hell out of it.
I'm staying right now with Grant Dawson. He's one of my good buddies. I've been with him for the past 4 weeks here. and he's super adamant on if you want to get better, you got to watch film. That's
Well,
the
yeah,
quickest
that's
way to
every
get
sport.
better, you know?
And I think that's like one of the more unsung things right now in the fight game. Not a lot of fighters are watching film.
Yeah.
A lot of the coaches are watching film, and not the fighters themselves.
Right.
Like you don't hear about Tom Brady sitting at home doing whatever the hell, and Bill Belichick's watching film for him. No, that's not happening.
Right.
Tom Brady's in that film room studying his ass off.
And it's super important you're watching guys, you know, that are like similar to your style. Like if you're a good, you know, decent striker that's just trying to get to the takedown and you know, and you need to watch, you know, people like Colby or you know, Khabib, not be watching people like Connor or Edson Barboza, you know,
Mm-hmm.
people like that.
Yeah. And on top of that, you got to watch who you emulate. Like, okay, like me, myself, I'm a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. So if I were to fight, I'd be studying like guys at my weight class who are good at jiu-jitsu, probably like Fabricio Verdun, Hodger
Right.
Gracie. Like, look at those fundamentals that they do in the fight game. And then I'll go watch fighters who emulate my opponent.
Right.
So that's not something that's really tapped in yet in the game. Is not a lot of fighters are watching the film. The coaches are, and good for them, but we need more fighters in the film room.
Right.
All right, so that was your number 9?
9. Yeah, number 8, which if he comes back and fights like he's saying he is, and wins the fight he's talking about coming back, he would be higher than what I got him, but I got Triple C. I got Henry Cejudo at number 8 right now.
I have him in my honorables because I need more of a sample size from him.
Right.
That's why I kind of brushed him off the side.
I give him because he's a double champ, Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah,
he beat Mighty Mouse, you know, who's on the Mount Rushmore of MMA in my eyes, you know.
Yeah, Mighty Mouse is a dog. Like I think he's probably on my Mount Rushmore of MMA fighters too. I wanted that rubber match so bad. His first fight, Demetrius stopped him. Second fight, Cejudo grounding him out for a decision. I mean, I had Cejudo winning. I don't know why people say it's controversial. I thought it was pretty obvious Cejudo won that, and I want to see that third fight.
And now he's getting ready for his third fight with Adriano Moraes.
He's fighting Moraes
for the third time. And
that's a very favorable matchup for Cejudo.
No. I'm saying Mighty Mouse is fighting
Adriano
Moraes in ONE FC.
Oh, that's
yeah. It's their rubber match. They're 1-1.
Yeah, because Moraes knocked out Mighty Mouse.
Yep, and then Mighty Mouse knocked him out with the same knee, you know, a downed opponent knee, which is legal in that promotion.
Yeah, I wish it was legal in American promotion.
I do too.
Like I've heard even Big John McCarthy, I forgot whose podcast he was on. He was talking about, hey, we need down knees and we need 12-6 elbow strikes. Like, why is this really outlawed? Because some guy, I think it was the Nevada State Athletic Commission, saw some karate guy break a ice block with a 12-6 elbow. He's like, we can't have this in there. I'm like, what's the difference?
And every time you go to a fighter meeting, you know, they'll be like, you can't 12-6, but if you just make a little angle on it, it's legal. You know,
right.
What's the difference?
There's zero difference there. Just by coming down at just like a slight angle, it's the same damn thing. All right. So that was your 10-9-8. All right.
Yep.
My number 10, I cheated. I made a tie.
I had right off the jump.
I had to cheat because I could not justify.
Yeah, you got 60 honorables, dude. Okay.
But this one, I could not justify leaving either guy off over one the other. And they're probably the most hated in their sports. I got John Jones tied with Floyd Mayweather.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like Floyd Mayweather at all.
I mean, I like Floyd a lot. I think his resume is hella padded because he fought guys past their primes and he's fought guys who have yet to enter the primes. Like when he has never fought prime Canelo Alvarez. I mean, that's probably my dream fight right there.
He fought Canelo when Canelo was young and coming up and wasn't ready for that, you know?
Yeah. So Floyd was very good at picking his opponents. I mean, I'll give him credit where credit's due, but he made a show of it. I mean, he was a problem that nobody could solve.
I do think he's very, very good. And, you know, I think he's underrated in some senses because some of the guys he did beat, like Ricky Hatton, when Ricky Hatton was undefeated and knocking
Yes.
him out. And,
That was probably the best showcase of Floyd, was the Ricky
right.
Hatton fight.
The De La Hoya fight, which, one of them was pretty close and controversial, but
Mhm.
uh,
I remember that. I had Floyd winning, so at the time
Right.
I didn't think it was controversial.
Wait, so he's undefeated. He has no draws either. It's all wins.
All wins.
Oh,
nope.
okay.
I mean, he was fighting him's trying to like catch smoke in a jar. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard as hell.
He's gonna slip out of there one way or another.
I mean, we never seen him bleed in a fight. I mean, I think we've seen probably one knot on his head ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
and for John Jones, I would have him higher, but he's just the elevated T levels on him kind of put him back in the back burner.
yeah.
If
Right.
it wasn't for any of that controversy, I'd have him way higher.
Yeah, I was gonna have him on my list as well, but he had so much nonsense with him. Like, how many fights did he have that were like accepted that had to get postponed or canceled
I
or
remember when he was supposed to fight.
withdrawn? Or
He was supposed to fight Dan Henderson back in, I think, 2015.
I feel like the last like 6 fights he was supposed to have didn't happen.
Yeah, but the fight he pulled out against Dan Henderson, he pulled out the last minute, and the whole card got canceled.
Yeah.
So that pissed me off. Well, that's when I jumped off that bandwagon.
Yeah.
What do you think of? Skill level. I think what John's done is just pretty remarkable. It's like you look at Barry Bonds.
Right.
Right. You still have to have the skill.
How
still gotta have the
talented
skill.
is he?
Right.
But on the flip side, just to play devil's advocate here,
Right.
but when after he's been busted, he didn't look good against St. Preux. He hasn't looked good against Thiago Santos, who doesn't even have knees, and he didn't look good.
He
Tom
didn't
Brady.
have knees in the fight either. He blew both knees out.
And he
like in the
still
second
gave
round.
John a hell of a fight. So that kind of scares me about John Jones, especially moving
And
up to heavyweight.
Dominic Reyes gave him a hell of a fight. And Dominic Reyes is on like a 4-fight skid right now.
I think he's retiring because
Right.
after Jan Blachowicz knocked his ass out into like the 80s, he hasn't been the same fighter. I mean, there's something like that happens though. A fighter could be at the top of the world and he gets brutally knocked out once,
Yeah.
and that's it. It derails their whole career because they psychologically.
He shakes that confidence, man. And
Yeah.
and not only that, I think what's evolved more than anything in MMA nowadays is in the early days, training consisted of show up to the gym and you're fighting. Nobody was protecting their brains. Nobody realized that, when you push that button so many times, it doesn't grow back. It's not like your muscles when you go to the gym and you work out and you tear your muscles and then they repair. Once your brain starts, going, it doesn't come back. It just gets easier and easier to press that button.
Yeah. Robbie Lawler is a good example. Like he would never spar in his early days. And they're like, why wouldn't you spar? He's like, I already know how to fight. I'm just here to like get my fundamentals down. And that's why
Right.
he went pretty much his whole career without getting knocked out until he ran into Woodley that one time. And another example of that would be Chuck Liddell. My uncle-in-law is actually good friends with him.
Yeah, dude, we gotta
I know I gotta like get my
I gotta get
uncles
the
here.
hookup on with
I'll
some
be like,
Chuck
Liddell,
Liddell, man.
you gotta get me. He's good friends with Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture.
Nice.
They go motorcycle riding whenever they're down in Louisiana. It's crazy. But he told my uncle-in-law one time, he's like, I would love to keep fighting, but I was sparring not too long ago and I got knocked out cold by a jab. Like
Right.
once that button's been pressed, it's easy to press.
Yeah.
So that ties my 10. Number 9, I got Anderson Silva.
Okay. We're gonna get back to that.
Okay.
I don't know how deep you want to dive into it.
I would dive back in because I know y'all got them ranked.
Also, just Dakota, if either of us say a pick that you already have,
Just say, hey, let's get to that later.
yeah, because
Just
we'll
so
just go over all of it when we get to that point.
Okay. I got you.
My number 8. This is probably my most controversial pick in my list, in my opinion. Some people will agree, some people won't agree. In my opinion, he's probably a top 3 heavyweight boxer of all time. I got Tyson Fury. Just because of I've never seen a heavyweight fighter with such a high IQ like he has. Like he's very good using his range. He's good at using his weight. And his footwork as a heavyweight is just great to see.
We're gonna get back to that as
Oh,
well.
you actually have him ranked? Look
Oh
at you.
yeah, dude. I
Okay,
mean,
I'm not hating it.
as far I got some recency bias picks on here, but most of mine are old school. But you know, I mean, as far as
Like, I wanted to
right
go
now,
old school.
Tyson Fury has got to be on my list.
Just watching him, like he skill set wise, I think he's one of the most perfect heavyweights ever.
Okay, yeah, well, we're gonna get there.
All right, so that was my 10-9-8.
All right, so my number 7 spot. Speaking of all time, maybe the OG of OGs when it comes to trash talking. I got Cassius Clay,
Oh, Muhammad.
Muhammad Ali.
We'll get back to that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we'll definitely get back to that one.
I mean, he had to be in the list. You know what I mean? My number 6 spot. Speak of the devil. Probably the to me, like, I don't know. I started watching UFC in probably like 2006. So that whole era, like that old school, like kind of like 06 to 09, that whole era of fighters was awesome.
It was.
The
It was
sprawl and brawl.
yeah, that's all it was sprawl and brawl.
I mean, like,
The wrestlers couldn't fight standing up, and the strikers couldn't grapple. It was a beautiful thing.
it was just good time. So my number 6 spot, like this dude, it looks so unorthodox. We just talked about. I got Chuck Liddell, man.
Chuck Liddell.
The Iceman was electric. Every time a fight had him on the card, it was like, wait, you gotta watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just gonna get in there. He had that
he had the goofiest stance.
that wide, just
Oh,
he looked like
a beer belly with the
yeah.
abs on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And for somebody with such a wide stance, like he threw that overhand right like it was nothing.
Oh, dude.
Like it looked like that overhand should have been telegraphed, but it never was. Like
And it weighed about 10 tons, too.
Yeah,
Just-
That's
He
it.
was thrown from the warning track in right field, man. He was throwing them things.
he was like, and when he was in there, he wanted an early night. Like he wanted to get in and out.
Yeah. Just like he was like the Stone Cold of MMA.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Just hammering beers, you know what I'm saying? Talking trash. Like, dude was awesome.
Yeah, I like me some good old Chuck Liddell.
Yeah, dude. I had to have him in
It
there.
reminds me of when people say Chuck Liddell's now, I call him Chocolate Al because growing up like this.
Dude, that is so funny. My brother-in-law, when he was a little kid, he used to call him Chocolate Dell.
Oh,
See, look, you
so
see,
close.
like this kid in college, like, yeah, but when's Chocolate Al fighting again? I'm like, who the hell's Chocolate Al? He's like, the dude with the mo. I'm like, Chocolate Al? Who? Like, I've been watching the sport since I was like 10. Like, who the hell's Chocolate Al? And he like pulled it up on his phone. He's like, I can't find Chocolate Al anywhere. I'm like, Chocolate. And then finally his friend shows up. He was like, you know that guy, Chocolate Al? I was like, who? He's like, yeah, the guy with the mohawk we watched the other night. Oh, Chuck Liddell. I was like, oh, you dumbass.
How could you watch the fight and not see the name?
I guess he just didn't care. He was like, Chocolate Al.
But that's my 7-6.
All right, Dakota, you're 7-6.
All right, number 7. I got on there. I threw him on there because he's my favorite boxer ever. Loved watching him fight. Is Eric Morales.
I like that pick.
I
don't
loved
know that
watching him fight, man.
I mean, I'm
You
not
go
gonna hate
ahead,
you.
yeah.
I'm not gonna hate you putting your favorite boxer on there because I almost threw my favorite boxer on there. Like he's literally my first honorable mention that I put, but I'm like, can't really do it. So yeah, man. Why?
Yeah,
So I mean, I love his highlight film.
very good. I always thought of him, he just had a lot of bad luck in some decisions, I thought, that kept him out of really, being a multiple world champ or so.
Mhm.
But man, just his style was so fun to watch. Beating Pacquiao in Pacquiao's prime.
Yeah, that was awesome because I'm a big old Pacquiao hater, so that was fun for me to watch.
Right. And just, he was the guy that was live by the sword, die by the sword. He was going in, he's getting finished or finishing you most likely. Just super fun to watch.
I'll always respect guys like that to just go in like, all right, either I'm fucking you up or you're fucking me up.
Right.
So I'll always respect those guys.
And number 6 I got on there is Mighty Mouse.
We're so close to matching picks. We'll get there right now because my number 7 is Mighty Mouse.
Oh, there we go.
Demetrius Johnson. I just wish he would have left flyweight and went up to bantamweight after a while. I mean, yeah, it's awesome that he passed Anderson Silva's record for title defenses. I know that record meant a lot to him, but he missed out on a lot of super fights like TJ Dillashaw. He never avenged that loss to Dominic Cruz.
Right.
And it was just bantamweight was just getting started. I'd love to see, like, one of my dream matches was him versus Cody Garbrandt before Cody Garbrandt got booped out of existence.
Right.
So I would have loved to have seen that. And he has quite
I
one.
think the flyweight division since he left has gotten so much deeper as well. You know, like there'd have been a lot. Like Brandon, I've trained with Brandon Moreno a bunch, and watching him fight Figueiredo and do that, you know, so many times, and being in the room with him, it's just like
It's
I don't know
emotional.
if he competes with Mighty Mouse, but then again, the dude's just incredible. You know, it's not that he's the most skilled guy, but when you see how a champion's work ethic is, that's him. You
I was
see what
fixing to
he
say
was
that.
doing, you know.
Like, I cannot pinpoint one thing Brandon Moreno is amazing at, except his work ethic. And man, when that cage door closes, he's like a pit bull. He's just you have to kill him to finish him. So I love
nicest dude in the
I
world.
believe
I
it.
mean,
I believe
my
it.
son was, when he would come up to training with me, Brandon was super nice, you know, playing Legos with him,
I
and
was fixing to say he's a huge Lego guy. As an
my son
adult,
talks
man,
about him all the time.
I mean, fighters, dude, fighters are pretty nerdy. I mean, I've learned that many years watching that. Like, mostly MMA guys are nerdy.
Yeah, that's like people's, you know, they'll show the memes of like Brandon Moreno with holding Legos and glasses on, and then they'll show a picture of like someone from Jersey Shore, and they'll be like, it's hard to tell people that the guy on the left would kick this dude's ass.
And it would be easy work for him too. And that's and people really don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like, one picture I saw was it was Dwayne Johnson was one guy, and I forgot who the other guy was. I think it was just Islam. And they said, yeah, you wouldn't believe it, the guy on the left would kill the guy on the right. It was Facebook, and my dumb ass looks at the comments, and everybody's like, nah, Rock's so much bigger than Islam. I'm like, y'all don't understand. Islam can make The Rock kiss his own asshole. I mean, it's a reality too.
Yeah.
So yeah, my number 7 was Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, leverage is a wild game.
And number 6, my second favorite boxer of all time, a guy who I've missed meeting out on so many times. Every time he was in the area or I'm in his area, it just never matched up.
Okay.
I got Roy Jones Jr.
Okay.
And one of my best friends
see it.
works for his promotion.
Is that the Body Headbangers? Can't Be Stopped? Is that Roy Jones?
Yeah, Can't Be Stopped.
Yeah.
All-time classic
and
workout
For
song,
real,
dude.
it is.
Dude, that'll get you going.
And he was like probably the first super athlete I've ever seen fight. Like, and it's so crazy hearing about how he'd go play semi-professional basketball before a main event fight for him. And just thinking about that,
Get the juices flowing.
I'm like, that's psychotic.
Him and what's his name? B-Hop had some fights, man.
Man, Roy Jones Jr., Bernard Hawkins, I could watch those replays all day. Like,
It sucks it took so long, you know, because Bernard had to get out of prison before they had to fight again, you know?
Yeah, but that's just the nature of boxing.
Right?
The business side, like the personal side, sometimes fights just take forever to come to fruition. Like, it took forever for Floyd to box Manny, and it took forever for Canelo to fight Floyd. It took forever for Canelo to fight Triple G. I mean, that's just how it is.
And it's a stereotype that most people like don't get on the surface or don't understand on the surface as far as like boxers take a lot more head trauma than MMA guys do. Because like boxing, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, they'll do a count, let you back up, and it's just so many.
And you got those big heavy ass gloves on there.
Many small, I mean, and you're throwing weight around on your hands, but it's so many small jolts of the head over and over and over. Whereas MMA, normally, if you really get in on somebody, it ain't taking too long. Like if you're really hammering them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right. Once you get dropped, you know, someone's gonna TKO you or submit you, and it's over.
Right.
Boxing, you get dropped and you get that concussion. And you don't get 10 counted, you're back on your feet.
Just keep getting
and
tagged.
The most critical time for a concussion is literally the first 48 hours, you know, after it.
Yeah, and especially after you've been cutting weight too, because your body's dehydrated. AJ Fletcher, when I talked to him, he taught me that, like, look, the reason I don't cut that many weights because it improves my chin. He's like, yeah, I could go down to lightweight, but I'm better off at welterweight because if I had that hydration, my brain's better protected.
Yeah, you lose water in your brain too when you're cutting. You know, it comes out at that's the last spot. But when you're on that death toll, you know, the last couple pounds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, cutting weight, man, that's just some brutal shit.
Terrible. Yeah.
I hate it.
I never met a fighter that's like, I love cutting weight.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I mean, we got fighters who have been like doing weight cutting since they were in middle school wrestling, and they're like, I never liked this shit.
Yeah.
It's like Dustin showed up 2 weeks ago and was here for a week. And I see him. I'm like, man, he looks big. And I'm like, how much you weighing right now? Only 175 pounds. I'm like, dang, you know, he's not walking around very big or very heavy. The cuts aren't that bad for Dustin.
Mm-mm.
Now, 45, that was just way too much for him, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't remember when Connor was a featherweight, you look at his pictures, the dude looked like a skeleton.
Yeah, I cut down to 155 and I looked sick. You know what I mean? And sure, I had like more to lose, but you know, if
like the most I cut for a jiu-jitsu tournament was 8 pounds. Because
I
was comfortable with my weight. I'm like, look, I love competing with guys a little bit bigger than me. I'm a little bit more comfortable than that.
Yeah.
So, hey, that was all me.
I tell you, my UFC debut, I took it on a Saturday and I fought the next Saturday. So I had 6 days for weigh-ins. On Friday night, me and my wife and a couple buddies went out to all-you-can-eat sushi. And I ate like 13 rolls, like full rolls, 13 of them. Had a chocolate milkshake afterwards. Wake up the next morning with like 20 missed calls and a bunch of texts. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Hop on the scale, was 187.4. I had to make 156 by the next Friday.
That's tough. Ooh.
I hopped on the scale at 155, like 0.8, made weight. But I tell you this, I lost a little bit of my life in that weight cut.
I was fixing to say
30 pounds.
I seen death, man. I looked death in the eyes.
I believe
that's like, did I watch The Machinist the other day with Christian Bale?
That's what I felt like.
Dude, he ate like 1 apple a day for like a year or something crazy. He lost like 100 pounds. Like, but dude, 30 pounds in a week is insane.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're recording top 10 candy bars after those chocolate candies.
Right?
Like, I'm very comfortable in my super heavyweight and jiu-jitsu tournaments. Y'all cut all those weight. Enjoy your abs.
Yeah,
that ain't me.
I've been trying to.
I tell everyone that. I said I'd rather be fat and happy than have abs. You can keep your abs. I don't
right, fuck abs.
Wait, so that was your 7'6"?
That was my 7'6".
All right, so my 5 spot. I believe you mentioned him earlier. Again, he was must watch. It was like one of the guys. If you saw him on a card, it's like, okay, one of us is buying the pay-per-view. Everybody, chip in. Which Venmo, that would have been awesome back in the day.
Oh,
you just had to count on people showing up with $20. You know, like back when everybody was doing pay-per-views.
Yeah.
But like, to me, one of the most elusive guys in MMA of all time, I got Anderson Silva.
Yes.
It was just a magician out there of just dodging hands. It was crazy.
And he fought.
He was ahead of his time, man.
He was. And plus he was in a division with not many elite wrestlers.
Yeah.
Until Chael Sonnen showed up and it's like, hey, I'm putting him on his ass. And he did. And Chael Sonnen gave us the blueprint on how to beat Anderson Silva. And that's when it was because of Chael Sonnen, I think Chris Weidman beat Anderson Silva. Because Anderson Silva knew, like, hey, I'm very susceptible to wrestling. And you got Chris Weidman, who beat John Jones in college at wrestling. And Anderson Silva was like, well, I got to watch out for this guy. And then literally, Chris Weidman came throwing heat. And that's what knocked Anderson out.
Just caught him.
The one little thing, watching on film with that fight, what caught Anderson was Chris threw like a hook and that little back fist that
little Rich Franklin
his
back
head
fist.
movement.
That little Rich Franklin back fist. Rich Franklin used to do that all the time. He'd come with the hook and then he would just like windshield wipe it, just like knock him off rhythm.
And it just frees you up and boom, hit him with the moneymaker after that.
and that was it. And I called that fight too. Everybody like, no, Anderson Silva's gonna fuck him up. Who is Chris Weidman? I'm like, did you not see what he did at Mark Munoz the fight before that? Just elbowed him, knocked him out standing up, and it was just insane. Like it was like a 12, like standing elbow, like 12-6, like that, and like just put a huge gash on Mark Munoz's head. I'm like, this guy's beating Anderson Silva 100%.
Right.
People thought I was nuts.
It was Anderson Silva that just shattered his shin in half, right?
Against Weidman.
That was the rematch.
Okay.
It looked like
And
tennis
then
balls and a
Weidman
tube
did
sock
it to himself.
against Yoel.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
Dude,
shit.
it looked so, and like, cause he hit it, and when he went back to plant, it just
like I saw it in real time. As soon as he
Mm.
and that was like the perfect check kick. You could not check a kick
Right.
better than that moment.
that was
Like
brutal, dude.
you just watch the leg, the shin bone just wrap around Chris
Mm.
Weidman's leg. I'm like, oh, that shit's broke, and then he just steps back and he just falls down.
What's funny too is like in the picture you see of Chris Weidman checking it, the sponsor he has on his shorts is Muscle Milk. It's like Strong Bones.
never paid attention to that. Yeah.
I never noticed that. I'm gonna have to go back and look.
So that's my 5 spot. My number 4 spot. This is kind of criminally high considering the picks that are around it. But we're talking about MMA and boxers. This guy qualifies because he did fight in MMA.
I know who you got.
But he is the GOAT of the streets. He took over the internet. It was electric. You had anytime one of your homies was like, "Oh, dude, you see the new fight?" Blah blah blah. I was like, "Oh, dude, we gotta go
Kimbo.
look at Kimbo Slice."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
As far as legacy and putting eyes on the product, Kimbo did a lot, and it was because of him we got Masvidal. Because Masvidal
Bruh.
used to fight on those little undercards of his in the
Yep.
street.
dude, and I mean, he was just out there in some tennis shoes and some jean shorts, just working people in the street, man. I mean, it was just he was just an animal. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
remember watching those YouTube videos in like 4th grade, man.
exactly. So I mean, like it brought like some new energy around.
My favorite Kimbo fight was actually one he lost. He fought against this guy named Bear. Like them
Some big
two-
white guy.
Yeah, it was a big white guy. They just hammered each other.
Yeah, they fought. It was like inside like a warehouse or something.
Yeah.
They fought for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. It was just straight boop, boop, boop,
Just
boop, boop
hammered.
for 10 straight minutes. Neither guy got rocked. And
Yeah.
it was just crazy.
For Kimbo never having like any formal training or anything, his head movement and footwork and punches, like throwing straight punches, was pretty damn remarkable for,
Yeah, his
being
hands were so tight.
self-taught,
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was like the first, I wouldn't say the first fighter that learned from YouTube. Like he just was the first fighter I could think of that just watched just regular old boxing fights and like, all right, I could do that, and went out and actually
Right.
did that.
Yeah, his natural mechanics were so clean as far as like
Right.
the way his weight
Like
distribution. and everything.
exactly. Like for somebody who has never had formal training, it was insane. Like if you go back and watch The Ultimate Fighter when he was on that heavyweight season, Rampage Jackson was like, this cat can actually really, really go in the gym.
Yeah, I mean, like, normally you watch somebody throw hands, just some trash like bar fight or something. Like it's slop. Yeah, but like his hands were just so clean.
And his
all
one
of his mechanics.
UFC fight, actual UFC fight against Houston Alexander, he also hit a picture perfect technique, amazing technique suplex on him. It was insane. Like this dude's never wrestled, but yeah, he knew where to put the hands, knew how to bend his body
right?
to just drop Houston Alexander on his little bald head. It was crazy.
Yeah, so I had to put for me Kimbo in there just because again, whenever he took over the internet, whenever he took over you, I guess it wasn't even YouTube back then, right?
Mhm.
Was it? Had to have been.
Yeah.
Like whenever he hit the internet, like it was must watch, So that's my 4 spot.
All right, Dakota, you're 5'4".
My 5 is Sugar Ray Robinson, not Leonard.
Okay.
We'll definitely get back to that one.
Okay,
I
okay.
gotta
Nice,
have
nice.
sugar. All right, so your
Okay,
number.
and my number 4 was Anderson.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go into my number 5. A fighter insanely ahead of his time in the MMA world. I still think he's the.
I feel like we're about to start overlapping a bunch in the tops.
We'll see. Like picture, I could not build a better MMA heavyweight in a lab. I got Fedor Emelianenko
Okay.
just because of the shit he did in Japan, and I hate that his legacy will be remembered for what he did in America's. Yeah, whatever. But if you go watch his film in Pride, and it's just insane, especially when Kevin Randleman dropped him on his head. That would kill a lesser human being and just still come back and armbar his ass. It was just amazing.
And it's an awesome last name, Emelianenko. I mean, that's top notch.
And probably one of my favorite nicknames, the Last Emperor.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
his
was my
brother would look like a serial killer too. Do you ever see his brother fought in Pride a couple times?
Can't remember his name. He's in prison now for rape.
Right.
Oleg? No, not Oleg. I'm thinking Oleg.
That's Taktarov.
Yeah, that's Oleg Taktarov. I'm thinking of. Oh, shit, cannot remember his name. I know they could pass as twins, but yeah, his brother looked more serial killer-ish. Fedor in his own right looked like a serial killer. Like he never expressed emotion ever. Yeah. From press conference to weigh-ins to actual fight, post-fight.
And now he's got two killers in his gym. You know, he's got Nemkov and then that Tokov.
Yes. Man,
I don't want to fight either one of those. It was just by name.
Right. Any Russians, I don't want to fight any
anything that ends in OV.
Any like Western Russian fighter, hell no. Get the hell away from me. All right, so that was my number 5. My number 4, you already had him. I got Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Do you have him or?
Do I? No.
All right. Muhammad Ali, just basically how he transcended the sport.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, like Floyd, his record is kind of padded. In my personal opinion, I've talked this over with many people. Some people think I'm insane. A lot of people will agree with me. I think Sonny Liston threw that fight against him. I think the Rumble in the Jungle against
Frazier
Foreman. I think that fight was rigged. If you look at those boxing ropes were way too loose to be an actual boxing ring. And the way he just was able to lean back as far as he could. And George Foreman, to this day, he won't admit it was rigged, but he'll say something about those ropes being loose. And I'm kind of in agreement on that.
Just what? So like he could get out of range if he needed to?
Yeah. Like it gave him more.
His rope-a-dope.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my 5-4.
Okay. My number 3 spot. We're not going to say anything for him outside, separate artist and art here. I'm not going to talk about his outside the ring antics other than his press conferences because you can go watch hours of his press conferences. This dude is a maniac when it comes to trash talk.
Connor?
No, dude. Number 3 spot. I got Mike Tyson.
Oh, I mean,
that's my number 3 as well.
hell yeah, dude.
Hit that buzzer.
Oh, yes. Hell of a buzzer. There we go. Okay, well, perfect. All right, so we'll roll right into yours. Your 3. Mike Tyson. So, I mean, to me, it was he would get in tight on somebody and hit him with that uppercut, just pop their head just right out of their hands and just demolish, just clean them out.
And what doesn't get said enough about Mike Tyson, everybody when they think Mike Tyson, they think awesome knockouts, but what people really don't understand is how great defensively Mike Tyson was.
His head movement was one of the best ever.
Yeah, like a heavyweight should not have head movement like that.
Yeah.
And he had that peekaboo style, that Teddy Atlas Customado peekaboo style that was just still it was very unorthodox at the time. People just really couldn't figure it out. And that's what led to those massive knockouts. It helped. Like he had that dynamite in his hand, but man, that defense of his that head movement was just insane.
And just the fear, man, that people had to step in the ring with him, Like there was people that admitted that they got hit by him and they could have fought, but they were like, I'm not getting up. I don't want to get up. They were just scared.
I don't want any more.
And like people, like it's unheard of people ducking the champ.
Yeah.
Like people were ducking him as champion. And also
20 years old.
Yeah. And he was also one of the only junior Olympic champions with a knockout highlight reel. That's crazy to think about too. A 13-year-old just icing people.
It was just a real life pit bull. I mean, like he just looked it just looked just so intimidating, just by, visuals,
Yeah.
But I mean,
I hate the rap people give him, for going downhill, it's like when Cuss died, his career kind of just plummeted, but that was his father. You know, that was his father figure. That's
That's exactly what I tell people. Like Cus D'Amato was the guy in Mike Tyson's life. That was his dad. Teddy Atlas was that close uncle, but then Teddy Atlas and him had that falling out.
right.
And wasn't he arrested? Like had a clear.
Teddy Atlas almost killed him.
He wasn't he arrested like 40 times by the time he was like 12 or something crazy.
Couldn't help it. That's just the environment he was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was in, and Cus pulled him out of juvie and was like, "Hey, if you're coming with me, you're gonna fight, or you can stay here. One of the two."
Yeah.
And
That's right.
that's what I tried telling everyone's like, so you're telling me when your mom or dad passes away that your life's not going to change, you know, you're not going to be different from it. And,
Right.
And then on top of it, be in a sport to where the hardest thing to do in the whole world is make that walk, to physically walk to the cage or the ring, knowing that, hey, am I fully prepared? I got to go fight a man that's had ample amount of time to prepare for me. You know, it's like my father-in-law always says it all the time is anyone can fight on emotion. Anyone could be in the heat of the moment. You're at the bar, someone bumps into you and spills your drink. Hey, motherfucker. And then, boom, you can fight. Anyone on earth can do that.
Yeah.
All right, let's say same scenario happens, but you're getting ready to fight and someone goes, whoa, wait a minute. Come back in 8 weeks. You do everything you can to fight him, and you do everything you can to fight him. And we'll see who shows up.
Very different game.
Yeah, it's a way different game. And like Tyson, if for somebody who he'll admit himself, I'm not intelligent, but for him to have that kind of fight IQ, and to this day, like he's training boys, like he's like, look, you're doing this wrong. When you're moving like this, but really you should be moving like this. Like instead of just dropping your weight, you're pulling your elbow to the ground to make that movement. And he just knows fighting. Like he was born to be a fighter. Could you, like Dana White has said it many times, like, could you imagine a world without boxing and guys like Mike Tyson are just out in the wild?
Yeah, just got to get that energy out some other way.
Like he was made to fight. I mean, but it was just, he grew up in like the worst circumstances before Cus D'Amato. Like he was laying in bed while his mom was getting trains ran on her.
Yeah.
And like that messed with his psyche.
Yeah, for sure.
Like nobody's growing up normal after that.
And also he went to jail for what, like almost 3 years, is that right?
Yeah.
And like right in the middle of his prime.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine if that
so did Ali.
Yeah.
For
Ali,
draft dodging.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. His different reasons, but yeah. But yeah, so that was both of our threes.
All right, my number 3. My boxing heavyweight goat, I got Joe Louis. Y'all got him?
No, I'm not terribly familiar with him.
I don't, but I respect that one.
Yeah, Joe Louis, he's that heavyweight that his style could still translate to today. He had the foot movement, he had the power, he had the crispest jab of any film I've ever seen. Like when I used to watch ESPN Classics all the time, that was the one thing that really stood out for Joe Louis was that jab.
What era was he?
He was a mountain of a man too. You know, he was a big dude.
Like he was a big ass heavyweight, but at the same time, he weighed a little less than the heavyweights walking in there. He was just pure muscle.
So like what year range was his prime?
World War II.
Okay. So like that's one thing
he's actually served in World War II.
I've noticed also, like, and I mean, it's not rocket science, but like, you know, like the workout revolution in like the 80s, whenever Arnold came around and kind of like everybody started getting into the gym. Like that's why the game is so different now. Everybody's quicker now. Everybody has more bounce now. Like that's what everybody is more analytical. Like back in the day, it was just raw talent for the most part. You know, you just, if you were born to fight, you just got in there and fought, you know, like, so like those guys, like, you know, Ali as well, you know, they were quick, fast, just loose at all times. Loose, like that was like wild to be like. Imagine if you took them and then moved them into the workout revolution era where they were just in the gym all the time. Imagine how their fight style would be now. Like if you add that just natural talent on top of like the correct diet, the correct workout, you know, all that stuff. Like it would be totally different.
Yeah. So that was my number 3.
All right. So my number 2 spot. I told you we get back to him. To me, again, so most of mine that like were around in my watching of the sports era, this guy, anytime I hear that he's fighting, it's like, all right, somebody's renting this fight because we have to watch it. I got the Gypsy King. I got old Tyson Fury.
Okay, I wouldn't put him that high. I thought I put him too high, but
Well, no,
whatever, dude.
it's recency bias, like sure, but it's not just his fighting, but also like, I mean, who else are you going to watch saying, whatever, like
Sweet Caroline.
That and what was the Armageddon song or whatever?
I don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah, like it's pure entertainment. And realistically, any professional sport from like the professional sport exists for entertainment. Like, it goes back to the gladiator days, whatever. You're fighting for an audience.
Mm-hmm.
So this man knows how to put on a show.
Oh, for sure.
So that's why I ranked him so high, is just because him, like, that's what boosted him so high in lists, is because he knows he's out there to put on a show. It's during the fight, he's got little nonsense with him, talking trash, whatever, cool. As long as you're good, you can talk as much trash in the ring or do much dumb stuff as you want.
Yeah, there's
you
one
can get away with it.
Another thing that he does well, he could take shots. Like, he has a great chin, and even when Deontay Wilder just slept
when he
his ass.
sat up like the Undertaker.
Yeah, just stood up, acting like no big damn deal. Got back up and just kept going. Like, that was hard for me to comprehend as a fight fan. Like, how can you get hit with something that would decapitate me, and then just that's that?
Yeah. So, but like,
Oh, we lose you?
oh,
there he is.
Got me?
yeah,
Yeah, we got you.
But no, I'll put him so high on my list because all of his all the different aspects of the entertainment that he puts on.
Yeah.
So I got him in the 2 spot.
All right, Dakota, you're 2.
Number 2, GSP.
Ooh, we'll get there.
We're gonna get. See, I knew it. All right, dude. Yeah.
All right, my number 2, the greatest boxer of all time, top dog for 2 decades.
Wait. Is it Boom Boom Mancini?
No, hell no. Well, I'm surprised you know who that is.
I only know from, I don't even remember what I think it's from J-Tom. For some reason, we just saw we always
Boom
reference
Boom Mancini.
Boom Boom Mancini. It's just a hilarious name.
He actually follows me on Twitter.
What? He
One of my-
follows you on Twitter.
He's the most random guy.
It's random
Hold
as
up.
hell, dude.
I have 3 random athletes that follow me. Ray Mancini, Jim Everett,
Okay.
and what's the dude from Foxcatcher, the wrestler, amateur wrestler? Shit, cannot remember his name.
Schultz.
John Schmaltz. I think it was John. No, Mark Schultz follows me.
That's
one
a cool one.
I mean, that's a cool one. That's pretty dope as hell.
We know you talk so much fight trash on Twitter. That's gotta be what it's from. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they still follow me because I kind of go overboard with
I
it.
hear you.
But yes, I got Sugar Ray Robinson.
Okay.
I mean, like I say, dominant for 2 decades, best footwork, the cleanest left hook to this day. And there's no better left hook in all of fighting than Sugar Ray Robinson. And he was the reason the pound for pound ranking existed. So that's why I got him.
Okay.
Me and my buddy Isaac, who that's how I met Travis. Him and Travis played college
Shout out to
football
Travis.
together. Right. Yeah. And me and him growing up were like the only kids, that were watching boxing. No one people knew who Tyson was, and that was it
everybody
when we were
watched the
growing
big
up.
fights that their uncles or dads were ordering, but nobody
Right,
really watched it. Like I said, ESPN Classics, I'll be trying to study
where I
the
was watching Sugar Ray Robinson on ESPN Classics and just, all of them fights in the early days. And then, every Saturday or, on Friday night fights, watching, the Eric Morales and the what's his name with the crazy tribal tattoo, Corrales and all them guys.
Yes, Corrales. I totally forgot about him.
Who's the bad boy guy? The Moriarga or
John. No, I know exactly. Like I could see his.
He's smoking cigarettes. Like they're doing his his
like
videos and stuff. He's smoking and drinking and
I
hanging
know
out with hookers.
that's one of the guys. Mayorga. Yeah, him. That's one of my buddy's favorite fighters of all time, just because of that.
I like him just from the description.
If you watch him, horrible, no technique, no skill. But
he just went out there just because, hey, it's a paycheck, and I want to drink this paycheck.
Nice.
Like some guys were just born to do this, who just did not care about technique. Back when the UFC was in New Orleans that first time, the main event was Jake Shields versus Jake Ellenberger. I went to the weigh-ins. which I highly recommend any fan do. Please go to the weigh-ins because you get to meet all sorts of fighters. Not necessarily the guys fighting on the card, but you get to see people in their camp, their best friends in their camps. Come watch them. You get to meet them. Cody McKenzie, I don't know if you remember him. Yeah, the little that high angle guillotine choke guy. He weighed in, and as soon as he got back to that tent, he turned up a bottle of Jack Daniels and just started chugging it.
Sheesh.
Like some of those guys,
that's next level, dude.
And
while you're dehydrated,
he just goes back there and just starts chugging Jack. I mean,
Bro, he got alcohol poisoning for sure.
I don't think he gave a shit. I mean, like this crazy Alaskan fisherman guy just so happens has a wicked guillotine choke, just goes out there, puts people to sleep.
Yeah,
has the most guillotine victories in MMA history, I think. Well, maybe Jeremy Horn does now because Jeremy Horn still fights to this day, I think.
Yeah, he's got 100 and something fights.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, Jeremy Horn's a maniac.
He's got to be, what, 50?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Oh, Gumby.
Yeah. Yeah, Sugar Ray Robinson's my number 2.
Okay, so we're going to skip my number 1 because I got a funny suspicion that we're going to have a buzzer.
All right, so Dakota, you're number 1.
Number 1 is an MMA guy. I got John Jones, man.
I respect it just because of the technique. Because when he was, it's debatable whether he was on the sauce when he was doing stuff. Technique wise, at light heavyweight, a light heavyweight should not have that kind of technique because he had technique of a damn lightweight featherweight. Like his kicks, his elbows, his suplexes, his clinch, his jujitsu, everything. Like offensively, technique wise, probably the best fighter ever.
I agree. You know, he just no one. There's been questionable fights to where people thought the other guy may have won, like the Gus fight. The Thiago fight, them guys. But man, the layoffs he had and still coming back after big layoffs and competing, and I'm not defending him. I know he's done a lot of shitty things.
Yeah.
But like the test thing or the whatever steroid or whatever that they were testing him for, they did it. It was like a picogram, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was picogram.
They said it was literally a grain of salt in the size of an Olympic pool. That's what was in it. Whether he was or wasn't, I can't, deny or confirm it. But still, like I said, tell Barry Bonds, not on steroids. Is he still hitting home runs? Yeah, he's still fucking hitting home runs,
And
I look at him very similar to the way I look at Alex Rodriguez. So, I mean, sure, A-Rod was obviously more tested positive, like for sure. But like the same, like, the absences they had in the sport for a while. Sure, either one, honestly, you could argue is like A-Rod. You could argue he may have been the best baseball player of all time, for fielding and hitting, But like to me, it diminishes it just a little bit just because of the absences.
Yeah.
Especially like during when like John Jones, I mean, he was UFC for, I don't know, 5-6 years. But there were so many times whenever he had a huge fight coming up where something would happen and they would delay it or whatever.
I tell you what, if Ngannou wouldn't have left the UFC, or if he does resign, which I don't think he's going to.
I think he's going PFL.
Yeah. And if Jones were to have fought Ngannou and beat him, there's no doubt about it that he is the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
if that were to happen.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. If he fought Ngannou and won, the Gane fight that's coming up, I think I'm picking John Jones for that one.
It matches such a good matchup stylistically for him,
Yeah, I mean, because if Ngannou was able to manhandle Gane wrestling wise, John Jones is going to make easy work. I got John Jones submission round 2 on that one, but the first fight I ever saw John Jones do was that fight against Stephan Bonnar. He did something that I knew immediately. I was like, this is a special fucking talent we're watching here, is when he caught Stephan Bonnar's kick and did that spinning back elbow.
Yeah.
Like light heavyweights should not be able to do that. Like this is a guy who weighed in at 205, who's probably walking in that octagon like at 220. like that shouldn't be a thing. That's when I knew like, hey, this guy's going to be good. He's going to be good for a long damn time.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, he would have for sure would have been like I didn't go back and do much digging. I tried to do most of these off the top of my head. Like
all these are off the top of my head.
But like had I remembered him in a better light, he for sure would have been higher in my list. You know, just kind of, hindsight.
Which I get it, I understand, and that's another thing I think is clear. Like if you had a guy like if Volk, for instance, if Volk goes and beats Islam, he's up there too with
I'm watching him in
the greatest.
If he beats Islam, I'm launching him into my top 10.
Right.
Easily, without a shadow of a doubt. Because not only is he undersized as a featherweight, he's undersized massively as a lightweight, and he's fighting probably the best wrestler in all the game right now. And if he
his one loss is outside of the UFC, split decision loss at 170.
Exactly. He probably walks around at 170. That's probably him just fresh off the streets. So I'm never going to hate on Volkanovski. Like, he's one of my guys. I'll always be a fan of his.
So
that being said, let me go ahead and dive into these top 60 honorable mentions.
Also get the buzzer ready because I know where our number ones are going, dude.
All right. Number 60, probably my favorite box, starting off the guy.
You can't describe 60 people.
I'm not describing.
Just random.
But I'm just like how he put a Sweet Pea up there, Pernell Whitaker. I almost put Ricardo Lopez on there. Probably my all-time favorite boxer. The guy, probably the only fighter that's gone out there and changed styles mid-career and still compete at the highest level and retired undefeated. So I got Finito Lopez, Amanda Nunes, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Mike Tyson, Antonio Inoki, Khabib, DC, Renzo Gracie, Sakuraba, Takanori Gomi, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, BJ Penn, Matt Hughes, Rocky Marciano, Jack Dempsey, Rafael Dos Anjos, Lennox Lewis, Dominic Cruz, Uriah Faber, Henry Cejudo, Conor McGregor, Clarissa Shields, Holly Holm, Hickson Gracie, Mark Coleman, Jack Johnson, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Pernell Whitaker, Canelo Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, both Klitschko brothers, Michael Bisping, who I think is the most underrated fighter of all time.
Like Bisping, yeah.
Because, like I said, like not many guys who get brutally knocked out recover career-wise, and he has. So
and with one eye.
Who did he lose that one? I think it was Alan Belcher that he got that eye poked out.
Well, what got his eye completely torn was from Vitor.
That was it. So yeah, Michael Bisping, Kamaru Usman, Volk, Izzy Adesanya, Max Holloway, Dan Henderson, Big Don, Cain Velasquez, Shogun Rua, rest in peace, just retired this past weekend.
Right.
Frankie Edgar, Crow Cop, Rampage Jackson, Vanderlei Silva, Dustin Poirier, Willie Pep, Henry Armstrong, Sam Langford, Gene Tooney, Julio Cesar Chavez, not his dumbass son, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Archie Moore, Marvin Hagler, Jake LaMotta, and Tommy Hearns.
Nice. No Lomachenko?
Oh, shit.
all that listing, man.
Well, I did it off the top of my head. I didn't have to look up a single person. This was a matter of pride for me. Like, I've been watching combat.
Did you say Forrest Griffin in there?
Hell no. I've been watching boxing since I was like almost my son's age. My son's about to make 5. So yeah, I've been watching boxing since I was 6. Started watching MMA at like 10 or 11.
I wanted to throw Big Country in my honorable as well, just because he was just a big fat dude that was just just throwing hands.
Roy Nelson was the most frustrating fighter because supposedly he's a Renzo Gracie black belt.
He is very good.
Never once showed in the ring. And then I've always wondered, like, why has he never done this? So yeah, let me
get the buzzer ready.
I know what it is. I knew this would be your number one too.
It always has. I mean, just especially from the era that we started watching.
I also called it when I was texting Travis. I was like, I already know Jake's number one. It's GSP.
It's GSP. Right. It's got to be. It was your number 2. Is that right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
he's done it all. Like he's shown that he can get knocked down record wise. He avenged every loss he's ever had. Like the perfect fighter. I cannot make a perfect fighter better than GSP.
I've never seen anybody in the ring that like visually just looked so technical. Like, there's a lot of people that are just naturally just kind of have it. The whole time you could see it almost in his eyes. Like he's running a million calculations at once. Every single
move.
As
close as you could be.
Yeah, every counter, every move he made, and everything was calculated, and you could see it see it in his eyes, him
Mhm.
figuring it all out as he fought.
And what he did better than anybody, and something that's not really utilized today in both boxing and MMA, is how well he feints. His feints were, to this day, it just warps my brain. Like, he's just so good. Like, he reacts to everything. Like, he wants you to react to what he does. And when he knows you're not even throwing, like, if you even load up that you're right, he's already switching that way. Like, he was the best at mentally breaking people in that fight, especially against Jake Shields and Josh Koscheck. It was just beautiful. Like, that's just the pure technique of him.
My favorite thing I seen the other day was saying how he's the GOAT because he avenged his losses to a guy's named Matt, and John Jones didn't.
That's right, because John Jones lost disqualification to Matt Hamill.
Yeah, it was Matt Hughes and Matt Serra.
Matt Serra, yeah.
Right. Yep, and he beat them both.
Yeah.
So yeah, like GSP was also, he brought,
and he could do wide grip pull-ups with 100-pound weight. Like, I mean,
he's just a
just
gym rat.
savage.
He's a gymnast too,
like,
you know, like
he was that bridge fighter that went from that sprawl and brawl era to what we see now. And
exactly, he was the revolutionary guy for it.
He was the renegade fighter and the trailblazer. And on top of that, he had that long layoff, came back, fought at middleweight, and just won that title. I'm like, all right, I did it. Bye.
Yeah.
I do think I was asking someone this, you know, on the topic of him. What do you think was the biggest upset in MMA history? And I think it was Matt Serra versus GSP or Pena versus Nunes.
I got to go just based off of what people said.
I think for me personally, it would have been that Serra fight just because that was, I mean, wait, how old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay, so you're what, 33?
Yeah.
So from what I remember, like UFC exploded on the scene around 2006. Like 6 to 9 to me was like sure, now everybody, like now it's probably at its peak in general, like a general public, but like whenever it really blew up on the scene was like our like late high school era.
Right.
And that was when GSP was like catching his stride at his peak as well. And then that's when that upset happened. It was like nobody expected that.
But as far as upsets go, like I could go on for days about this. For me personally, it's probably Holly Holm knocking out Ronda Rousey. Just because of the hype Rousey had, like she was like this god of a fighter, and then she just got worked. Probably after that, it'll probably be Pena Nunes. It's so weird that the top two upsets in my mind are both
girls.
But also you got the Matt Serra knocking out GSP. And one that doesn't get talked about enough was Michael Bisping upsetting Rockhold for that title.
Because that was a huge one.
I remember the message boards, everything, every website, social media, when that fight got announced, it was because Bisping had to fill in for that fight. And everybody was like,
he took it on like 2 weeks.
Took it on 2 weeks, and everybody, and he already got dominated by Rockhold. He got choked out, and nobody gave him a chance. And I love Bisping. I'm a huge Bisping fan. I always respect guys who will go out there, get brutally knocked out, like I said, against Dan Henderson, and still compete at such a high elite level. Because that like psychologically, he's one of the most psychologically toughest fighters ever. Because
I got nothing but good words to say about Bisping because, you know, after both my fights in the UFC, you know, I lost both of those fights, and both times he messaged me and, you know, was always like, you know, you had great performance. Keep your head up. You know, this ain't the end of the road for you. Just, you know, just keep blazing that trail.
Yeah.
And
I love Bisping. Like I'll finish his book over the summer, and it just made me love him even more. It's like if I can meet any of the fighters on my list, Bisping's probably top 3. Just because of the way he carries himself.
Yeah, all-time guy, just in general.
Just a top bloke, as the British would say. He's a top bloke.
So yeah, that was both our number ones. What, rundown?
Rundown, recap it.
All right, my number 10 spot, I got Uriah Faber. 9, Ryan Garcia. 8, Floyd Mayweather. 7, Muhammad Ali. 6, Chuck Liddell. 5, Anderson Silva. 4, Kimbo Slice. 3, Mike Tyson. 2, Tyson Fury. And number 1, George Rush St. Pierre.
All right, Dakota, your recap.
Well, I don't have them in specific order remembered as how I listed them,
Okay.
All right, that's fine.
but I had Sweet Pea on there for 10. I remember. Khabib at 9. 8 was let's see here. Mighty Mouse was on there. John Jones, Mike Tyson, GSP, Sugar Ray Robinson, Eric Morales. Who else? I had Mighty Mouse, and I got 2 more here. GSP was 2 on the list, and Jones is my number 1.
Yeah.
And speaking of Travis, he just texted me. He said, Jake's list is trash, huh?
Well, there was maybe
Hey,
3
I thought
trash
it was
picks in
pretty
that.
good. It was
Yeah,
pretty
man,
good.
to your defense,
Thanks, Doc.
I expected much worse.
Well, I mean, I was deep in MMA stuff for a while back in the day. I just
Yeah.
haven't kept up with it as much, you know.
I mean, all
and
right.
most of, like I said, mine was based off entertainment value. You know, and not necessarily that they were all the best fighters of all time, but like it's like the way I look at all sport in general is it's entertainment. You know, from the basis of all sport back to the original Olympics, and I'm sure the original Olympics are, I guess, trying to pick the strongest people out of the tribes, whatever, you know. But I mean, ultimately, back from like the gladiator days and stuff, it's just entertainment. So that's the way I valued my picks.
All right. My top 10. Coming in at 10, John Jones and Floyd Mayweather. 9, Anderson Silva. 8, Tyson Fury. 7, Mighty Mouse. 6, Roy Jones Jr. 5, Fedor Emelianenko. 4, Muhammad Ali. 3, Joe Louis. 2, Sugar Ray Robinson. And number 1, George Rush St. Pierre.
Yep. I knew that was going to be both our number ones, dude. I knew
it
when we
was your
said
number
this-
one because you said it many times that
I
he
love
was your.
GSP, dude.
Yeah,
It,
didn't you buy his affliction
it
shirt?
just so happens, dude. Just so happens we went to the mall and I was like, that was the style at the time. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy one of these affliction shirts. Again, just wasting money. It was like
I'd be lying my
it was
ass
like a
off.
$90 or $120 t-shirt back in like 07. You know what I'm saying? It's something absurd.
And now it's funny, like all the fighter community, when we see guys wearing like tap out shirts or affliction shirts, everyone's or American Fighter, we're like, oh, bro, don't fucking walk over that way.
I'd be lying my ass off if I said I did not miss tap out and affliction.
No,
shirts.
dude, tap out was trash always.
That has
Dude.
some,
I mean,
that has some good designs, but my
I was a warrior wear guy back then.
warrior wear. That was the one that was heavily promoted on ShareDog.
I guess, but no, I bought the shirt on accident. I just grabbed one. It just happened to be, it had Rush and on it was St. Pierre on the back. I was like, I guess George St. Pierre is my guy now, and it just happened to be right when he was blowing up.
One of my biggest failures in college, among many, but my biggest failure, in my opinion,
let me hear the biggest one.
and my biggest failure was that's when tap out and affliction had that taboo. Oh, if you wear that, you're a douchebag. And my dumb ass went, all right, no, well, I'm gonna try and make it respectable brand on college campus.
Yeah, sure.
Didn't work.
No, I didn't. No.
I saw it as like, hey, my favorite fighter.
You're breaking the fashion barrier.
I'm breaking not only breaking the fashion barrier. Why is it okay for guys to wear their favorite athlete jersey? I can't wear my favorite fighter's t-shirt.
Fair.
It did not go over well.
Right.
It was quite a time though, honestly.
2008, 2010 fighter shirts, just
8 to 10 or like 7 to 10 maybe was just all time.
It's funny because you still see like the guys in their late 40s, early 50s, that are still gym
we've
rats,
mentioned these
pumping
guys
iron,
plenty of
and
times
they
on
wear
here.
the American Fighter t-shirts out, out and about to.
Dude, what was that other brand? Oh,
Ed Hardy.
Ed Hardy, yeah.
Yep. Just those 40, 50-year-old guys still wearing bedazzled Ed Hardy
And
shirts.
jeans too, with all,
Jeans
all the
with the buttons
rhinestones.
on the butt,
Yeah.
the
He-
glitter.
Their trash lady at the bar
I mean, come on, don't talk trash about their ladies, dude.
with their, and then and the lady will go talk to another girl. Hey, me and my husband dig your vibe.
Yeah. Good times. Dude.
2008 through 2015 was a time.
It was a time, dude. It was all bad, honestly.
I'm glad social media wasn't what it is
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Then, man, that'd been rough.
All right. Well,
So that wraps it up.
that was
Top 10
fighters.
fighters. Thank you very Dakota. You said you're in camp right now. So where are you fighting next?
Well, I don't know of what I can and can't say, but
Hey, that's you and management right there.
that's fair.
I respect that. I respect the silence.
I don't know what I can and can't say. I do know I'm going to be gone for a little while. 6 weeks.
Mhm.
Coming
Word.
up here next week, I leave Monday.
Okay.
And,
We'll use context
know-
clues from there, dog. You know?
I mean, I'm pretty fluent in fighter, so I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. So yeah,
I'm a tough guy. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, everybody just keep an eye out in general.
keep an eye
for Dakota
on
Bush.
Mr. Dakota Bush right over here. American Top Team, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep, American Top
Nice.
Team, ATT. You said Mike Brown yourself, one of my heroes of the sport just because of his fight IQ. I love students of the game, and that's Mike Brown to a T. All right, so that does it for us. Come back next Monday.
Yeah,
'Cause-
because this is Thursday.
Yeah, this is Thursday. We don't know what we're doing. You'll find out when you find out.
All right, Dakota, thanks for coming on, bro.
All right, thank you so much,
Yes,
man.
sir.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Peace.